This is Jonathan Ferguson, the Keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. And I'm your host, Dave Jewett, and today we're searching for scrap on the surface world and breaking down the weapons of Arc Raiders.
Right, another pistol here.
A double barrel pistol.
This does look very slender to accommodate a feed mechanism from one magazine to two barrels. I think that would be hard to do.
It quickly became my favourite pistol in the game, especially when I upgraded it to have the drum magazine and the foregrip, which I took out once, died, and lost immediately.
Oh no!
The woes of an extraction shooter. Yeah, I love this gun.
Yeah.
Having loads of fun with this gun. Oh, it's gone forever. There is a longer director's cut version of this episode over on our Patreon, link to that in the description below. But now, without further ado, I'll throw it over to Jonathan.
I'm not sure about the blue moped helmet.
Yeah, everything's salvaged in this game. It's after an robot uprising, you're living underground, coming to surface to scavenge materials, and that extends as far as your weapons and your outfits.
Okay.
So one of the big things to note at the start of this episode is the rust and wear of weapons and how that can actually affect the weapons. So what we're seeing here is the Ferro unupgraded, and we've switched to a cleaned, restored, upgraded Ferro.
Okay.
And it's not just a cosmetic thing. The rustier and more worn out the weapon is, the slower it is to reload, slower it is to operate.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, that's good, because we usually, well, people, you don't need me to tell you this, but traditionally game guns are just indestructible, and maybe there's a heat mechanic, but once it cools down it's fine, or they're super fragile and after X many shots or whatever they just explode into bits. But something where the state of the weapon is a little bit more realistic as far as what would be the problem with it being a bit rusty? Like, cosmetically, who cares? Now, this is reminding me of something. I'll be right back. So, there is the double-barreled thing like this that I was showing before that's a bit more sophisticated and a bit more reminiscent of this. Probably the closest analog we have is a bit more rudimentary than what we're seeing in the game.
That's a pipe.
Yeah, it's pretty much a pipe with another pipe. I do enjoy the fact that they've tried to turn up the muzzle into sort of a cannon style molded muzzle for reasons. And they've put some lines around the breech there. They being, I don't know, by the way. This is Czech's label. Ah, of course. So this is the Aoka. This is one of the Aoka terrorist-made Cypriot weapons. So, same origin as the infamous Rust miniature hand cannon thing. Weird that name gets attached to something sort of fun and frivolous like that. But anyway, yeah, so this one has the opposite problem to your rusted Ferro, in that it just breaks when it feels like it, really. There is a hole in this little top strap and a hole corresponding in the breech end. So I don't know if you're supposed to have a pin in there that you pop out, and maybe it's on a bit of string. I don't know. They've tried to fashion with some blobs of weld this buttstock, and look, it has a butt plate attached. It's one up from the most, well, maybe two levels or two increments up from the most basic slam gun type design, in that it does break open. Interesting beast. Not really what we see here. This is definitely something a bit more complex. They've almost tried. I guess this, if I have a criticism, it's that it sort of falls into the trap of, let's make bits of it look like a gun, but then also we don't want any bits to look. It looks like it has no real firearm components on it, but they've tried to ape firearms components. So the buttstock looks like an M4 style buffer tube AR-15 buttstock. For what reason? Like, it doesn't need to look superficially like that. Not to say someone wouldn't do this. If they were craft producing a firearm, they absolutely might make it try and look a bit more like a gun, but from objects that aren't firearm components. That's the vibe I get from it. Not that it's bad. in any way. This is just an observation that if this was real, which is often how I'm kind of thinking, how would you arrive at a situation where you've made that as an improvised or craft-produced firearm? I don't know that you would necessarily. But this is a different world, and we're in a future where there's some slightly more sci-fi bits, I think. So maybe some of it is that. I like the look of this. And that overall aesthetic is so much more important than any nitpicks I have about how would this thing work. I don't really get it. Well, we don't understand how the ammunition works. There's a lot we don't know. And we can just gloss over and just enjoy the game. But yeah, I see there what superficially looks like a bolt handle, but absolutely isn't. It's fixed in place. It's just a bolt. Doesn't appear to do anything, but I might be missing something. The handguard thing, I suppose there's one bit where I'd be a bit more keen to see some reality, and that's the ergonomics. So I'm happy to hand wave away how things work for science fiction, for fantasy, but I'd like to see more thought about how are you grasping this, how are you holding it, and also I guess how it's kind of opening up to put in whatever ammunition, and less concerned with how it works than a more plausible way of loading it. The break open thing is fine, as you can see. It's often done for that kind of semi-improvised, craft produced is a term we use. Homemade would be the word I was looking for what normal people would call it. But yeah, interesting design. Now the counter drone stuff is quite fun because although this is I think meant to be a rifle, is that right?
Yeah.
Being break open, and a tube, it more makes me think of a shotgun. And here I am, kind of laughing and joking about it. But in Ukraine at the moment, it's kind of a last ditch counter drone weapon, and actually it joins the two because shotguns are being used, but also rifles, sometimes with modified ammunition, are being used as last-ditch weapons against different types of, some of the smaller drones, let's put it that way.
You will end up fighting these drones, or arcs, as the game calls them, more than other players. And interestingly, the way they work is that you need to really target their rotors, or if it's walking drones, its legs, which is also why you might see them take one of the parts off and then it spiral down out of control and crash, because the core is quite armoured, but the weak point are those rotor blades.
And they behave in quite a realistic way when you take out one of the engines, or at least they appear to. It looks quite naturalistic. Yeah, kind of intrigued at those being the main enemy, because they're really quite, apart from the propulsion method, they're very reminiscent of what's around at the moment. And don't feel massively scary, but I bet it's a bit different when you're playing the game.
Oh yeah, and then you get the big ones with massive legs that are taller than you, or ones that shoot artillery, or even madder, more massive ones. These are just the basics.
Oh, okay.
The Arpeggio, which is an arpeggio is a musical chord.
Indeed.
So, which I think is a nod to this being a burst fire weapon.
I was just going to ask you that very question with my very rudimentary knowledge of music. So I'm glad my brain was moving in the right direction there. My first reaction is it's firing some sort of physical projectile kinetic thing, and it's sort of rocking in the player's hands, which is quite nice. You will, if you watch a lot of footage of guns firing, as I do, you'll see that, I think for different reasons, sometimes it's the rotational force imparted by the bullet being spun in the barrel. I guess that's the main force. Sometimes with working parts, the way it's held, the design of it can, I think, add to that or even create different moving forces. Guns don't just stay static in your hands, and they don't just go up or back or even up and right as the classic kind of recoil impulse because of the way our bodies work. They also move within your hands depending on the recoil energy and the design. So the way it kind of rocks, I think, is quite fun. The general design, so getting a better view of it now, there's what looks like a gas tube on top, although quite short or quite far back.
Is there a hint of AK with the gas system, with the gas tube?
I was just going to say it is vaguely AK, and something about the trigger guard. But then I guess that's just because it's a bent piece of sheet steel. But the two things together give you a little bit of that with an AR charging handle. The straight short mag is, I guess, quote-unquote battle rifle reminiscent. Various things that could reference. Nothing too specific, I wouldn't say. And I'd say also the receiver with its sort of four arms. Well, that makes me think of the WA2000, actually, but unbullpupped.
Uh-oh.
And drastically changed. So I don't know. I think They might have looked at that just for that idea of like an outrigger receiver chassis type look. I don't know. I don't think they're cleaving too closely to anything real. I haven't seen any ammunition.
The ammunition is pooled into light, medium, and heavy. So
Okay.
common pistols or small SMGs would be light ammo. This uses medium ammo, sniper rifles, and the Ferro that we saw earlier, heavy ammo. And there's also shotgun and energy ammo and launcher ammo, which we'll get to some of those later.
Yeah, it's probably a good way of doing it. Very high rate of fire on this thing, hence the name. Burst and high rate.
I get the sense there's an element of sort of lost technology as well.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, well, not that, but I was going to say this feels like a world where we vaguely remember what guns are, but there aren't any. So
you need to find blueprints, or people are, trying to recreate weapons off of maybe like images they've seen that they've recovered from magazines or photos from the surface. It feels like you're learning a lot of that technology, or relearning it and reinterpreting it with the resources and setting of the game.
Now, is it plausible that an AI enemy could hoover up every vaguely functioning firearm or even non-functioning firearm that could be used as a basis for something? Is that plausible? I don't think so. You'd have to go well, let me ask the question, how far in the future are we?
According to the lore, I don't know what the current year is, but in 2180, that was the year the Earth fell and people started to retreat underground.
Okay, so we could be a couple of 100 years out. You'd still be finding rusted guns. Even if you could do nothing with them, you'd be using those as the basis for fabricating something that does the same job. And I don't quite get that vibe from the guns I've seen so far. They seem more like far future. We don't even know what a gun is, but they have had to relearn it. It absolutely works on that level. I'm just kind of professionally overthinking it, which is why I'm here. But yeah, I couldn't really. All I could say about that in terms of what does it look like, or what could it be inspired by, is like 20th century assault rifle, probably.
You can find a longer, deeper, extended version of this episode over on our Patreon. And over there, you'll also get early access to next week's episode. Patrons get early access to all of our future episodes, as well as other Patreon exclusive videos. But whether you join the Patreon or watch along here on YouTube, I want to say thank you for watching, thank you for supporting us, and now I'll get back to the video.
Cautious, people.
I'm looking at the Anvil, which is classed as a hand cannon and sort of does look the part. Something a bit different. It's got the wires on it. If they were there for electrical ignition, that would be again, if you're reinventing firearm technology and gun culture, as it were, in the future, you might well start with electrical ignition rather than percussion ignition, because the whole process of creating percussion caps and fitting them into cases and all of that, if you don't have any of that set up already, electrical ignition would make some sense. It's revolver adjacent in that it has a big bulky round thing on it, but that doesn't look like it revolves. And there are no bits on this that make me think of any real world guns at the moment. Yeah, that's that yellow wire's running to the back of the sort of breech area. The blue wire runs to a pad on the frame under the, I'm going to call it a cylinder, and then they sort of emerge again from the front of that and go into the underlug on the barrel. I think this is an art thing. So this is a little bit like the revolver from Wet, which I think was 2009, maybe a bit later. Anyway, that had an open cylinder revolver that ejected empty cases, which made no sense. This isn't that, but it has an open cylinder with some sort of clamshell that closes around it. It's reminding me not of a real gun, but of another game gun that we've seen before. Probably won't remember. The hammer does indeed function, and we are single action only.
Yeah, it's single action pistol, and this it's a really powerful gun, one of the better guns in the game. And the idea of upgrading it is so important with this one, because that determines on how quickly you can reset the hammer and fire again. When it's all rusted, you can see there's a real effort to pull that hammer back again, but when it's pristine, it's nice and smooth.
I think that's a good usage of that classic single action and game mechanic. Yeah, I'm not sure how great any kind of pistol would be against airborne enemies. I mean, they do obligingly kind of hang there for you to plenk at some of the time, at least. I'd be looking for a buttstock attachment for this. Is there one?
No, not for the revolver. That's very much a pistol.
I mean, that's me thinking a bit more realistically than game-wise. You've got to have that pistol handgun slot, really. And if you upgrade that to the point where it's as good as one of the rifles, what's the point of having the...
Just realised why it's called Anvil.
Oh, have you?
Because it's got a hammer. You're operating the hammer.
Probably, yes. I was going to say it's intuitively a good name.
Also hard hitting.
Yes, yeah. That's more what I was going for, but you're quite right. It might be the only gun in the game, for all I know, that does have a hammer, which would make it being called that for that reason more likely.
It's definitely the only gun where you operate the hammer.
Yeah, I'm going to go with both. This reminds me of another game gun, maybe one of the Fallout guns, but I can't think what. I like the design. Side-mounted magazine, obviously. Looks almost like a grease gun or some kind of a tool, but again, can't tell you what it might have been based on. It looks too kind of factory-produced at its core to be entirely craft-produced. Stitcher, is it meant to be based on a nail gun?
That was the vibe I got.
Right.
But there is another gun that also has a bit of nail gun around it that is quite similar to the Stitcher too.
It has a cutout in the cocking handle, like Tommy gun does, to let you see through it to use the sight, but it doesn't have sights. So I think they've taken a design cue there without really understanding where it comes from. It's a minor detail. Certainly that big long lever trigger with a big knuckle bow trigger guard makes you think of a tool rather than a firearm. Looks like we have a buttstock on this, but we're not using the buttstock. Little odd. Not the first time I've seen a game have a buttstock on a gun and not actually... Well, Gears of War is the classic, when they actually put a stock on the Lancer. They're not using it. But I'm guessing the stock makes it more stable in the game regardless.
Yeah, there's a stat increase. The way you handle the weapon doesn't really change, except for the foregrip, actually. Okay. There will be some changes in how the player character operates the weapon if the foregrip's attached.
I always prefer, okay, your stats change. What's it actually doing to achieve that? And the obvious thing with the stock is it goes in your shoulder, or at least up against your cheek or something, or under your arm. You know, the classic assault position with the Tommy gun or other SMG where your arm is clamping the buttstock in and helping you lock in, and you look over the top rather than just kind of floating in space, which is fine for that kind of buttless push-pull type situation. But adding the stock ought to change how you handle a weapon. Just like adding the grip changes how you handle a weapon. Same thing. The kettle. Oh, I could do with a brew. That's I've had a Pavlovian response to the word kettle. Isn't that interesting? Get one on for me, would you, Dave?
Crowd crack right on, mate. Don't you worry.
Right, okay. This is another bit of a... Frankly, these are all slightly head-scratchy for me. This does again look like it's been fabricated from sheet metal and tubing and an oxygen tank or something. I would have said this was a handheld flamethrower, but then I'm noticing the very tiny side submachine gun mag, which is similar to that on some of the other guns. I think I need to see this in operation. This game looks really cool, I have to say. It's very easy to get lost in the nitpicking and the detail and not comment on the game itself, but it looks really... Pretty's the wrong word, but another really nicely realised apocalyptic ruined world.
Oh yeah, they've absolutely nailed the setting and aesthetic, and it is a really great game. Weirdly, this is one of the couple of guns that I felt like had the most real-world inspiration.
Oh, okay. Are you thinking Calico?
I am thinking Calico.
It's only just hit me that armature bit at the front, if that's even the right word, bracket that accepts the in this case like an air tank. Let's just get a Calico, shall we? So I have grabbed the first Calico I found, and it might be the wrong one in that it has another bracket for a sight bolted or screwed on over the magazine. And this doesn't have the buttstock, does it?
No, this one doesn't have a buttstock.
Well, that's easily fixed. We'll throw that away. I mean, you might argue throw the whole thing away, but but here's what we're talking about. So there's that almost A-shaped bracket there. The general proportions. I would be stunned if they haven't taken inspiration from this. Obviously, there's not like an air tank thing or whatever that... I haven't quite figured out what that's supposed to be on this gun. This is a helical feed magazine for conventional cartridges. It happens to have the most hateful reload in all of firearms, perhaps, in that you've got to kind of reach over the top with very long fingers, press both mag catches, and then kind of reach back and like, yeah, not great. And you can't just slap it back in, you've got to latch it down at the rear as well. Needless to say, a lot easier without the sight bracket on it. Most of them don't have that, so I'm being a little unfair. What you'd normally do is just come in over the top, pinch, pull, and lift off. But this one, this particular configuration, has one of the worst reloads you'll ever see. What looks like a magazine well is just an ejection port. And the other big divergence here is this thing has that Sten style mag sticking out the side. So this isn't a feed device on this gun. This is some kind of other thing. What my assumption would be, if it wasn't for the muzzle flash, is it's a bloody air gun. And that's just an air tank. Oh, I should say, on the Calico, the other amusing thing, I can't even get the magazine off, there we go, is you've got your magazine, it has a little flip out handle. It's like an accordion.
Jonathan playing the gun hurdy-gurdy over here.
Yeah. In fact, we can do it. We can do it for real. We can have it on the gun to some extent, although the sling swivel stops it. That's a shame. If you unscrew the sling swivel, yeah, it doesn't rotate, unfortunately. Then we could literally gun hurdy-gurdy this thing. Well, not literally in the sense that it doesn't play music, but you know, through the magic of editing. Oh, God. This gun is absolute trash. I'm sorry, Calico, because the about 10 years ago the company was still going and they were trying to bring it back. I wish them luck, but I just maybe a new design inspired by the Calico is the way to go, because the original Calico is just not great. Hey, here we go. Now this one is easy, because although the more you look at it, the more different it is to the French Shotgun, model 1915. Machine rifle, automatic rifle. The inspiration is very clear from the magazine alone. There are very few firearms that attach at both ends of their magazine. There's a 100 round mag for the AK that does it. There's this. Might be others, but I can't think of them. And also the general aesthetic. This came out of a compressed development cycle due to there being an existential war going on. So they knew they needed some sort of automatic rifle caliber weapon, and they had to design something that would be economically quick and easy to make. And so they went for sheet metal, a big tube, several big tubes in fact, and that's why we end up with this it really is quite post-apocalyptic looking, I think. So a great choice for some inspiration. And we could postulate that the people in the universe have seen a picture of one in an old book and decided, well, yeah, that makes a good idea for a general layout and a magazine system. The real one is quite heavy and awkward. I mean, any automatic weapon in 1915 would be. Early days. But it is awkward. And the game gun, I should say, looks similarly chunky, heavy, and awkward, which would be a huge downside to this whole scenario. You're essentially reinventing the wheel here. So if you're designing and making brand new firearms, you're falling into all the same traps. You're falling into all the same traps that generations before you have done, but you lack the continuity and resources to sort of pick up where they left off. So what else are you going to do? But again, it's only inspired by. It's not like they've taken the show shot and put it in the game and made some tweaks to it. They've come up with a gun of similar proportions with a similar magazine. That's as far as it goes.
Obviously, another big departure is top loading I guess it'd be an internal magazine. It's attached, permanently attached to the weapon on the in-game Rattler.
Yes, I was expecting something like this. I think I can show you this on camera. So I was expecting a removable magazine like the Shosha. So we have a great big old nubbin here in front of the front grip that we push up on. I'm being very careful not to drop the magazine. That unlocks it at the rear. You can see the cartridge there. These are not live rounds. And then it unhooks at the front. So hooks in at the front, latches in at the rear. In many respects, it's a classical box magazine. It just happens to be shaped, half semicircular. There's a reality where the designers went, actually, we want the ability to load this on the weapon, or we even make it a fixed magazine, and we load it from the top. And that's what they've done with this fictional kind of other attempt at this idea. So that in itself isn't implausible. And actually, if resources are tight and you don't want to be making tons of difficult to make sheet metal magazines, just have one mag per gun. The advantage of that, of course, is you can top it up on the weapon and you're not doing an awkward reload with what is, quite frankly, an awkward magazine. So this is a conventional pump shotgun by the look of it, albeit entirely kind of homemade.
Yeah, I think the grip is made from, I don't know, I'm looking at it and thinking petrol. What would you call that? Petrol nozzle?
Yeah, I don't know. And it's another one of these long lever triggers that this doesn't so much make me think it's cannibalized from some kind of tool. It makes me think this is just easier to make. So I can sort of see how you might end up reverting to that style of trigger and just a great big bar to protect it in some kind of home industry scenario, cottage industry world. So they have sort of replicated something like a Mossberg 500, Remington 870 entirely from scratch, based purely on the principle of, well, really going back to Bannerman's patent in the 1860s. Although there is an even earlier one from the 1850s by a British chap called Bain, who came up with a slide action firearm.
Having a rusty version of this thing is a real detriment as well, because it slows down how quickly you can pump into the next round. It's a great gun in game. It hits like a bull. Little joke for you. Il Toro, Italian for the bull.
Maybe that's the reason for the name. Yeah. Oh, I think I said Bannerman was 1860s. It's not. So the Bannerman shotgun is 1882. Spencer Bannerman. A tiny bit reminiscent of this in that the pump grip is very diminutive compared to later ones. So it's not until the 1880s, the patent's a little early, can't recall, that the pump action shotgun becomes a thing, but then apparently it's with us for centuries, if fiction is to be believed. It makes way more sense in this context than in some sci-fi context, let's say, because you've got a reasonable speed of operation, but without the complexity and difficulty curve of a self-loading weapon. Right, another pistol here.
A double barrel pistol.
Yes, reminds me of the old double 1911 that Arsenal came out with. The Jeweler?
The AF 2011?
AF 2011. I think they called it Jeweler as in duel as well. Anyway, looks nothing like that. So at most, they may have taken inspiration from a gun that fires two shots at the same time from twin barrels, but they could have looked at some percussion pistol from the 1860s, for all I know, to get that idea. This does look very slender to accommodate a feed mechanism from one magazine to two barrels. I think that would be hard to do, if not impossible. Unless there's something in there to sort of alternately feed one chamber and then the other.
It quickly became my favourite pistol in the game, especially when I upgraded it to have the drum magazine and the foregrip, which I took out once, died, and lost immediately.
Oh no.
The woes of an extraction shooter. Yeah, I love this gun. I'm having loads of fun with this gun. Oh, it's gone forever. The shot dispersion is actually really tight at range. I think it's very common to see these double-barreled weapons in games, at least. The shot dispersion, just they separate, but they stay quite tight, even at like 30 to 60 meters.
I think they're normally included as a way to give you a spread, and that's how they behave. I think in this case they're going for it's double the shots, therefore double the damage, more so than dispersion is my feel. It definitely looks a bit easier to control with the foregrip, although there's still quite a lot of movement. But then there would be, rotating around around the pivot point of your hand, I guess. The drum mag would help, at least initially, with a bit of weight hanging off the bottom, and I guess being made out of metal would still help even if it was nearly empty. Oh, funky pseudo bolt action with a lift-up flap. Interesting.
It looks like it's maybe a straight pull bolt at the back, but it's hidden under that little cover.
I guess. I didn't know if he's flipping up the lever and then yanking the lever back. as in the white bit, is what's actually being used. I don't know. The scope is interesting because it has a very factory-looking reticle with range estimation, and that feels like that would be quite the reach. I mean, I'm not saying it should be the Fallout rusty screw sticking up inside a faux telescopic sight tube, but maybe it's a bit too sophisticated. I'd have to assume they found some optics and rebuilt them into a housing.
Since I'm able to fight from a longer range with this weapon, it's a great opportunity to shout out the sound design because the game sounds great.
It does sound good.
Hearing like the echoing gunshots in the distance, more so than any other game have I been able to estimate where a gunshot is coming from
Really?
quite a distance away. They've really nailed that, like, oh, there are shots coming from that direction, and you can get a basic sense of what weapon they might be using based on pitch, how loud it is, how rapid the shots are, and sort of engage accordingly. They've really nailed that. And the arc weapons will sound different as well. So you'll be like, oh, there's an arc enemy fighting someone over there, or oh, there's someone with maybe a Ferro or an Anvil over there because it sounds loud and punchy. It also means you really expose yourself when taking a shot because so many people can hear how loud you're being. They can hear that gunshot from a long ways away.
Yeah, I like the sort of projectile effects as well. The sort of smoke trail. It's not the traditional just like pseudo tracer fire. There's more going on. Oh, hello. Large ammunition capacity. Does it though? I'm getting MG42 from the cocking handle and the kind of barrel casing, very, very slightly, and then kind of, I don't know, looks like a sort of giant caulking gun, especially with that buttstock on it. Yeah, from the top, there's definite MG42 feel. It's like the receiver of the MG42s that envelops the barrel has been sort of stretched vertically. And the rate of fire, to some extent, but it's still not quite high enough for that, I don't think. Oh, and a top cover. Yeah, all right. I'm also wondering if they're thinking specifically the Smart Gun Aliens version of the MG42 with the way it's being held. I don't like the way the top cover flaps up and down. Like, I get they're trying to imply that it's janky, but if your top cover is popped up, your gun is not working. Having said that, it's not clear to me where the ammunition is feeding from.
So it looks like it's a sort of rectangular magazine that he slots in at the top rather than anything belt fed. So when he opens up the cover,
okay,
yeah, I struggle to see it as well, but it's like a sort of cassette magazine.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's almost weirdly, it's like a machine gun top cover meets the Wesley Richards monkey tail carbine / rifle, which is another mid-19th century flip-up design. But that doesn't take a magazine, it just takes a single round of paper cartridge. It's that I think it shows how far I'm reaching when I'm kind of coming up with something that's so far removed. But that would explain to some extent how top cover popping up is not a showstopper, because it's not in place feeding a belt through. It's really just a magazine, a glorified magazine catch / retainer.
Say, Dave, I hear people ask, how come all this gameplay's on the firing range? Well, that is because I found one of these during my time with the game. We're recording this on the 4th of November, so I've only been able to play the game for a few days. I found one and was trying to extract, and someone was hiding in a bush and shot me in the back while I was waiting to leave, and I was so angry that I forgot to even record the gameplay. I just pushed myself away from my desk, turned around and walked away. So you just get firing range footage for this, and you'll be happy with it, okay?
This is EXP Rage Quit Edition.
I was like, I'm fuming. Absolutely fuming.
It didn't quite look to me like the bullets were penetrating the road sign.
No, there's no penetration mechanics in this game.
Well, that's very disappointing, Dave, I have to say.
Oh my.
Right, now I saw this hanging off your back earlier and I had thoughts, but hey, it's a bullpup, so I should be happy, because people seem to think that I love bullpups because I wrote a big book about them. They're alright. When you absolutely positively have to have a 20-inch barrel.
It was the rarest weapon I found and the only bullpup I found, so I wanted to include it.
Okay.
And that guy you saw me shoot at the end. If you see this, I'm coming for you. Because this guy, right, this is the rarest weapon I found. I'm going on a rant. It's the rarest weapon I found in 20 hours of play. And I was so nervous to bring it back. Because when we're doing these episodes on extraction shooters, if I find a cool weapon, I'm like, great, I've got to get it back to the hideout so we can then talk about it. Because otherwise, it just doesn't exist. It's ethereal. It never mattered. So I'm skulking back to the extract, calling the elevator, bang, shot in the back. I try and run off. And all I'm thinking is, I got to get this thing back. I got to get Tempest. I got to save it. I run away. He's still hiding in a bush. Bang, hits me again. I'm recharging my shield. I think I've got the gameplay. I hide in a bush for easily 8 to 10 minutes. To the point you can see him looking for me and walking past. And I've got like not a lot of ammo. I'm all out of heals. And all I'm thinking is I've got to get in this damn lift and extract this weapon so I can feature it on the episode. He gives up eventually. Someone else calls for the extract. And when you do that, there's a big alarm that alerts people that the extract is coming. He then goes and shoots that guy in the back. So I've snuck up to him at this point. So he's now distracted and I shoot him in the back and I get out and I get the gun away. We get it in the fire range. I never took it out again because I was like, well, I'm not losing it. It's my only purple. So I had the gear fear all of a sudden. But I was like, you're not getting away with this. So if that was you, I saw that other guy take you down and loot you and you deserve it. All right, I got out. You got nothing. You're getting nished today, not for me. Okay, I feel better now. I just wanted to get that out.
Oh, amazing. What a great story and a great rant. I love the idea that it's almost like the Matrix. You've got to get to the phone to get your consciousness out.
I was
you had to get that gun out.
Because I'd already lost the machine gun. And I had this, I was like, I'm not losing another one.
Yeah.
And it happened within the same afternoon. I was like, I'm not losing.
Well, there you go. If you know who you are, if you're watching this, own up.
Yeah. No more camping
Post in the
extracts.
comments.
Rotten behaviour.
See if you can justify yourself in the comment section.
Thank you all for watching. Let us know in the comments section what other movies, TV shows or games you'd like to see on the show. And of course, subscribe. As always, a massive shout out to all of our supporters over on Patreon for supporting EXP and for letting us do cool content like this. Links to support Jonathan and the Royal Armouries will be in the description below, so make sure you check those out as well. But until next episode, I want to say thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, all of that good stuff, and we will see you real soon.